All right, I think you are here, right? Shall we start?
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay, great. We stopped here. So I will show you the some kind of pattern in this outsourcing trend, right? Because it's practically it will be important to you. Yes. Okay, you can see the screen, right? This actually is a satellite image. You can see this, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, this is actually a satellite image. We call it as actually how we track the ports and ships, right? We usually use some kind of website, and sometimes we have some type of paid versions of these websites to track the ships and ports. This is one of them. So I just tracked, and I will show you the satellite image of this port. This very important port with respect to the shipping, that shipping sector, right? Sea transportation. So this is the main port of the Bangladesh. We call it as a port of Chittagong in Bangladesh. You know that what happens with the Bangladesh, the trend, right? The business trend. Most of the companies, they outsource their manufacturing plants in Bangladesh, especially apparel, right? They outsource US companies and some European companies. They outsource this manufacturing plant in Bangladesh, right? Earlier, you know that it was in Sri Lanka earlier, right? Most of the apparel garment factories was in Sri Lanka, but most of them are shifted to the Bangladesh. The thing is, so Bangladesh is very, very important with respect to the supply chain management, right? Because of this outsourcing trend, right? What happens in Bangladesh, you can see this is actually their main port, the port of Chittagong in Bangladesh, main port. They manufacture many things. After manufacturing, they brings those cargo to this port, right? Actually, you can see this port. This is a sea, and this port is located along the river. River එකක තමයි port එක located වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. Very this comparatively this very big port, but it's located along the river, right? The manufacturing plants are this surrounding area. They manufacture many things, including apparels, and those they bring those cargo to this port inside the containers and load those container on ships, right? This green color dot represent the ships, right? Container ships. You can see if I magnify these, right? So these are the ships, right? You can see ships, right? ships inside the port, and you can see there are many ships outside, right? There are many ships outside waiting to go inside to this port to load the cargo, right? You can see it's a huge demand for shipping. ලොකු demand එකක් create වෙලා තියෙනවා shipping වලට. Ships ගොඩක් මේ port එකට යනවා. Why? They have to bring those cargo. So they manufacture, it's actually outsourced manufacturing happens there. They have to load that cargo and they have to bring that cargo to deliver to the customers. That's how it's happening. Most probably what happens for this type of ports, very small ships goes to these ports. මේ වගේ port එකකට this, you can see the river එක යන්නත් ඕනේ, it's very small ships, right? Very small size ships go there and they load the cargo. They bring those cargo by using these small ships to the ports like big ports like Port of Colombo or somewhere ports like Port of Singapore, right? From those ports like Port of Colombo and Port of Singapore, they load those cargo again to the big ships, and those big ships goes to the Europe and America, right? That's how they are doing the transportation part for the district. Yes, I was sorry about that. That's the connection issues because of the rain, right? Sorry. So you can hear me right now?
Yes.
That's good. Okay, in supply chain perspective, the Bangladesh can consider as a manufacturing location, right? For that particular manufacturing location, you can see that how shipping business is created, right? Shipping business created surrounding this manufacturing the facilities, right? So I just wanted to share with this you to explain the logistics with respect to the transportation part and to explain that the outsourcing component, right? So that's how it goes on, right? The same thing can happen in the Sri Lanka or some countries like, especially countries like Vietnam, Taiwan, China. If we go to the China, right? Completely different. So very mega scale, right? Okay, that's about the container terminals, operate container ships, right? This is about the bulk cargo terminal. I told you some kind of bulk form cargo like coal, coal, right? You can see the coal in black color, right? This is the coal terminal. So we normally call this as a bulk cargo terminal, right? They load this coal on the ships. Specially designed ships are there to load this type of cargo, right? So this is one particular terminal, right? Particular
PowerPoint is
facility.
not coming, sir.
Sorry. Right. Now okay, right? Now okay, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. This is for the bulk form cargo, right? Now, this is actually liquid cargo to load the liquid. Liquid form means that the petroleum kind of things, right? If you are handling petroleum and liquid form cargo like chemicals, you need to have this type of facility. Especially to store those type of cargo, you need to have this type of facility like tanks, right? Tank type facilities you need to store liquid form cargo, and these are the ships specially designed for transport this type of cargo, the liquid form cargo. It's like that. Especially from these tanks, the pipeline are connected to pump this oil or chemical to the ships, right? It's like that. And this is grain, right? Grain terminal. You can see the silo types are here to store the grains, and from these silos, you are pumping the grains to the ships. This ship also you can see is a different shape ship, right? So specially designed, right? So for each type of cargo, there are ships specially designed. That's the thing, right? The most importantly, I will tell you one fact in shipping. Container ships, right? Container ships, they transport finished product, most probably finished products. ඒ කියන්නේ final product එක තමයි container ships වල transport කරන්නේ. Right? If you need to transport raw materials, you source some raw materials, right? This is also raw materials. If you need to manufacture automobiles, you need to have iron ore, yapas, you need to. It's a raw material form, right? If you need to make plastics, you need to have some kind of chemical. To transport that, you need to have this type of vessel, ships, right? For transport raw material form, you need to use this type of ships. For finished product, most probably you use container ships. That's how they separate areas, right? But everything specially designed, right? That's about sea transportation and the port terminals. Now we will move to the air cargo terminals, right? I told you that more than 80%, around 80% cargo moves by using the shipping. The thing is that why we use shipping mode, it's comparatively cheap and you can transport big amount, the volume by using the ships, right? Not like in other modes, right? So by using ships, you can transport the significant amount of cargo. Like for an example, in world big ships, biggest ships, you can transport around more than 20,000 containers in one ship. It's like that. That's why shipping is very, very popular. And the unit cost to transport one container, to transport 1 ton of other cargo, it's very cheap, right? But anyway, air cargo operation is there. Why you have to use air cargo operation? Sometimes you have to transport some expensive cargo, or I can say it as valuable cargo, high value cargo. Right? For an example, gold, right? Some type of medical equipments, some drugs kind of things you have to transport, right? So for that, you have to use the air transportation. And other case, if you need to transport something within few hours, that means speed delivery. If you need to do the speed delivery, you have to use the air cargo. Because you know that ships, it takes much time, sometimes 1 month from China to USA, just like 1 month, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks it will take. But if you use air cargo, air transportation, it's few hours, right? Especially in courier services, deal with air cargo. That's why, right? For this as well, you need to have a specially designed facilities inside warehouses. Of course, You need to have an airport type facility for this. And to store the cargo, you need to have a separate warehousing facilities. That's the thing. This is actually one map of the US airport, actually Kentucky Airport, International Airport in US, right? You can see this aircraft is owned by Amazon. Who is Amazon? Amazon කවුද? Amazon කියන්නේ? Amazon?
Order fulfillment center.
Okay, Amazon is actually world #1 e-commerce business company, right? In ranking, world #1, right? E-commerce, right? Especially courier shipments, right? So they are #1, and you can see this is a map of this particular airport, and here they highlighted Amazon Air Hub. This airport is actually managed by some different party, but they have a separate facility for the Amazon company, for this company. That facility is operated by Amazon. In that facility, they have a facility for land the aircraft, right? And warehousing facility to store their parcels, everything. Parcels means cargo, right? This is UPS. Anyone know UPS, United Parcel Service? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
It's same like DHL.
Yes, it's like DHL, FedEx, right? UPS actually, it's also US based company, but and FedEx also US, and DHL, it's Swiss based. Swiss and Italy combination is there, and Germany is there, right? DHL, it's like a combination. DHL is still, I think it was world #1 in logistics, but now some Danish company, Denmark company overpassed them, right, to become the world #1. But UPS and FedEx is a US based company, very specialized, right? So if we should just go through their websites for UPS, I think they have more than 250 aircraft, maybe more than some airlines, right? This aircraft actually not passenger transportation, but only for the cargo transportation, right? This their air cargo facility to handle the cargo. We call it as a UPS World Port. You can see this is the facility, actual facility, and this is the UPS owned aircraft. And you can see these buildings, actually these are not buildings, these are warehouses to store the cargo. Especially these companies are actually UPS also, it was a transportation company earlier at the initial stage, only transportation, that means air transportation, but gradually they developed themselves as a logistics company, provide transportation services, warehousing services, and the documentation services, procurement, everything. And then they develop as a supply chain company. Now they are introducing themselves as a UPS supply chain solution, right? Supply chain. They will provide the service package to you. Right? If you need to manage, if you're working for the manufacturing company, if you need to manage your supply chain, other than core elements, they will help you because we have facilities and they have expertise, right? So again, for this as well, I have very short video. This video is actually very interesting. The thing is that this facility is located in the Alaska. Where's Alaska? Alaska කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? Alaska, which area, which region in world? Yes. Alaska කොහෙද තියෙන්නේ? I'm just asking because of the reason, right?
America.
Yes, it's located
It's in USA. No? America.
northern part of the North America, right? Alice. I'm just not asking because I have a reason. That's why I'm just need to highlight that. Okay, just wait 1 minute. Yes. Yeah. Because if you discuss about the logistics or supply chain management, the most importantly, we have to have some kind of idea about the geography, especially if you are dealing with the transportation, right? Geography is very important here, because why I'm saying that transportation, especially dealing the distance, right? Especially distance, because they are doing international transportation. So distance is very crucial. With distance, it increases the cost. I think one mic is on. Please switch off the mics. Yes, thanks. Yeah, it's somewhere in America, the Canada, adjacent to the Canada, right? So it's in the Pacific Ocean, and northern part is caused by the Arctic Ocean in the Pacific Ocean, right? The thing is that you can see from Alaska. I'm just searching for some map I didn't get, but exactly I just want to highlight the location, right? If we just imagine that in the northern part and Canada is here, the Alaska is close to the Canada, and Pacific Ocean you can see. Through the Pacific Ocean you can connect from the other side, right? Okay, and you can connect to the, just imagine the map, right? I'm explaining. From other side in the world, you can connect to the with the China. That's the thing, right? China එක connect වෙන්න පුළුවන් අනිත් පැත්තෙන් Pacific Ocean එකෙන් ලෝකේ අනිත් පැත්තෙන්. Right? That's right. By keeping in that mind, just watch this video and I will explain later, right? So just watch this video and we'll. Anchorage is the big. You can hear the voice, right? Voice එක ඇහෙනවනේ the video එකේ. Biggest city in Alaska, but compared to other American. Anchorage. Can you hear the voice?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
The biggest city in Alaska, but compared to other American, it's quite small. With
Sorry?
the
So video is not.
you can hear voice, right? Video is not. What about now?
Visible.
Can you see the video? Visible, right? Okay, good, good.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, then watch it. Anchorage is the biggest city in Alaska, but compared to other American cities, it is small with a pop. Sorry. Any issue? What's the problem? Can you hear the voice or you cannot see the video? What is the problem? Any issue?
Video is hanging, sir.
Issue එකක් තියෙනවද? Video එකක් පේනවද? Anchorage is the city in Alaska. Sorry? Video එක පේනව නේද?
ඔව් සර් වීඩියෝ එකක් වෙනවා සවුන්ඩ් එකක් ඇහෙනවා සර්.
මට නෝ වගේ ඇහුණා ඒකයි මම කතා කරේ. වීඩියෝ එක පේනවද ඔයාලට?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes, හරි. issue එකක් නැහැ නේ. එකක් තියෙනවා මට කියන්න, right? මට අර එක sounds ඇහුණ එකයි. Right, okay. Anchorage is the biggest city in Alaska, but compared to other American cities, it is quite small, with a population of just 290,000 people. The weather here in winter is extreme, with temperatures down to minus 10 degrees Celsius. But surprisingly, even with such a minor population and heavy winter, Anchorage has the world's third busiest airport in terms of cargo, surpassing massive cities like Shanghai and Seoul. In America, it is the second biggest cargo hub, only surpassed by Memphis, which is number 1, just because it's FedEx's biggest hub and their headquarters. Now, Anchorage is not a big exporter of anything except bulk natural resources like oil and minerals that are shipped out on ships. What it does export in great volume is fish fillets and frozen seafood, but that isn't nearly enough to get Anchorage at the position it is right now. Also, Anchorage is not a big importer of anything which can't be shipped by ships too.
So the big question is why Anchorage Airport is so busy with cargo traffic, even though it isn't a great producer or consumer of anything. Well, you see, Anchorage might lack in population or a major in-city production, and also it might have extreme weather conditions too, which are exactly all the things a cargo hub doesn't usually have. But one massive advantage it does have, which no other city in the world has in common, is the location. Anchorage might be on the corner of America, but it isn't corner of the world. Actually, it is the center of the world. Anchorage is less than 10 hours by air to 95% of major global markets. Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Tokyo are all massive transportation hubs, and Anchorage is the location between all these cities and North America, which means all the planes coming from Asia has the same place to take a stop. You see, Anchorage might be the third biggest cargo hub, but cargo planes that arrive here are not actually coming here, but rather just taking a stop. And since Asia is the producer of a lot of things that Americans demand, there's a hefty amount of Boeing 747s and 767s that take a stop here every day. In fact, 80% of all cargo flights that operate across the Pacific make a technical stop at Anchorage. This stop would be to refuel, change crews, and in some cases to transfer cargo to other planes. It is why major integrator airlines like FedEx, UPS, and DHL all have a significant presence at the airport in support of their growing international cargo operations. But why would planes take a stop when they can just go direct to the city they wish? Well, the primary advantage for cargo carriers to make a stop at Anchorage is that they can maximize their payload to fuel ratio. In other words, by being able to carry more cargo and less fuel, they can operate with more efficiency and greater profitability. A carrier can carry an additional 100,000 pounds of revenue cargo by making a fuel stop at Anchorage. It's a simple but powerful incentive to make use of the Anchorage stopover. And in bonus, Anchorage is right on the route to North America, so planes don't have to lose any fuel. However, if an aircraft decides to go direct, then it would carry less cargo and more fuel, and the only thing that they would be saving here would be an hour which they didn't have to spend at ANC. The Anchorage airport is the best option for the whole of Asia, and it didn't take much time for the government of Alaska to realize that back in 2004, when they permitted air cargo to or from a foreign country to be transferred to another airline in Alaska. Unlike airports elsewhere in the US, foreign carriers can legally transfer cargo between jets at the Anchorage airport. These expanded cargo transfer rights make Anchorage extremely flexible for cargo airlines, which can make use of time on the ground refueling to also carry out transfers between their own planes and those of other carriers. Anchorage is one of the few airports in the world with this facility and is the only one in America. These transfer rights include online transfers between a carrier's own aircraft, interline transfers between one carrier and another carrier, and change of gauge, which is transfers from a wide-bodied freighter aircraft to one or more smaller aircraft flying to potentially multiple destinations from Anchorage. These operations at the airport need a lot of people to support, and that is why it is estimated that 1 in 10 jobs in the Anchorage area is a result of business activity generated at the airport. It might be directly or indirectly linked, like a manufacturer or a shipment local packaging company. In recent years, these jobs are growing even more as the Anchorage airport is showing tremendous growth in cargo shipments. The growth here is directly linked to the ongoing expansion of trade between China and America. China has a massive contribution in global e-commerce, and hence millions of packages shipped by Amazon and eBay get transported to America and go through here. The airport is booming with growth in the past 2 years. The online products that people purchase are mostly made in China, and since 80% of cargo planes have a stop in Anchorage, it means that 80% of the products that are coming from China have also been to Anchorage as well. In fact, there's a very good chance that the phone that you are holding in your hand has been through Anchorage. The rise of Amazon has certainly increased the airport's aircraft number. In fact, on a typical day, you could easily see 5 to 6 B747 freighters heading to Amazon's base in Cincinnati, with other 777s heading to other locations throughout America. But despite that growth, the airport lacks the services of its competitors. It's largely a fuel stop and crew change site for the jumbo jets headed to other airports. If plane technology were to be a little more advanced and they had better fuel efficiency, then no airline would take a stop at Anchorage, and the airport would basically be empty with just a few domestic flights. Although other cargo hubs at the same time would have no problems because they are basically originating the cargo. Anchorage wants to change that and make sure that planes never stop coming here. They're planning to build a warehouse with refrigerated storage facilities. With this, more fresh salmon could be shipped to restaurants in the lower 48, and it might also heighten demand for Alaska peonies, which is the only place in the world where the popular flower is available. Apart from the cold storage, a 500,000 square foot cargo transfer facility is also proposed to enable faster cargo transfer between aircraft. If the new facility is built, foreign jets can still transfer products without having to worry about making sure the other jet has arrived. And they can do it more efficiently at more convenient times. Long term, the airport should see continued gains in cargo because of the strong demand in the US for products from Asian countries, although it still would be hard for Anchorage to change from a stopover. This is because Alaska doesn't have much cargo originating in Alaska, and what they do have doesn't get transported by planes. So the main motive for Anchorage for the next years will be to give cargo planes a reason to stop beyond fuel and crew changes. Right now, Anchorage is a growing hub with huge opportunities. It will remain a valuable transportation infrastructure asset that continues to pay dividends for Anchorage and the rest of the state. The airport's growth will ensure the growth of businesses that are connected to the airport and will keep Anchorage and Alaska important players in the world of global transportation.
Right.
All cargo flight, it's all less than 10 hours. World. Actually, it is the center of the world. Anchorage is less than 10 hours by air to 95% of major global markets. Shanghai, Hong Kong, and Tokyo.
Right. I think right. What is this? Actually, this video is I found accidentally. It's very interesting video. I shared with some other students as well, some other degrees. The thing is that one of the most unique facility transportation, we consider one of the most important factor as hub concept. Hub එකක් කියලා කියන transportation වල. For an example, if I simply explain hub, what happens in the vegetable distribution system in Sri Lanka? ලංකාවේ vegetable distribution system එක කොහොමද වෙන්නේ? So how it's I mean that how the networking things happen in that. Most probably you know that some most important locations, right? Dambulla is one particular location, right? The other locations?
Manian Market, Tabuttegam.
Peta.
Yes. Tabuttegam.
Yes, Peta.
Not
Good.
Tabuttegam.
Peta. Yes, right?
Pandara.
Okay, good. So let's consider Dambulla and Manning Market in Peta. Why those places are very important? What is the reason?
Dabulle is a collection.
Any significant?
Dabulle is a collection center, and the market is Peta.
Yes, Dambulla is a connection center. It collects everything, right?
Yes.
It collects. And also in the Peta also, it collects vegetables from different areas. After collecting, what they are doing?
Distributing to the retailers.
Yes. They collect, yes, very good. They collect and distribute. Same thing happens in the ports and airports, right? In world, there are some ports we consider as a collecting centers and distribution centers. Not all ports, right? Not all the ports. Some ports we consider as a collection and distribution centers. We call them as a hub. අපි hub එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ ඒවට අර this word this come from this bicycle, right? Bicycle wheel. You can see the middle, you can see the hub and the connectors are there. Right? ඒකෙන් තමයි hub concept එක ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ. For an example, Port of Colombo. It's actually world 24th largest port, largest container port in ranking, called as a hub. The thing is that we are collecting cargo from India, cargo from Bangladesh, cargo from Africa, right? And we are collecting and we are distributing. Port of Singapore, same, right? Port of Singapore considered as a world number two largest port in container business. They are collecting cargo and they are distributing. The collection centers. These are hubs. Actually, this one also, this facility we call it as an anchorage in. It is an airport facility, actually not airport designed for the passenger transportation, but cargo transportation. Mega cargo airport. It's actually world third largest cargo airport. Why they locate this place? Actually, Alaska, you know that the temperature, right? They are not producing anything. There's weather is adverse weather, right? Every day it's like minus temperature and wind. Many obstacles are there. But still, why they select the location, you can see the geographical advantage, right? You can see how they connect with world's largest air cargo hubs with respect to the cargo volume they generate. You can see Shanghai, you know, Shanghai is number one with respect to the cargo, right? They have number one port, number one airports in the world, top airports in the world. Another one is Hong Kong. Hong Kong is actually basically, it's, you know, that it's owned by the China, but Hong Kong considered as a China's cargo hub, right? China wala cargo hub එක තමයි Hong Kong. So Hong Kong handle everything on behalf of China, right? So with respect to the cargo, right? And Tokyo, it's very big with respect to cargo, right? From Anchorage to air, you can connect with these hubs within, I mean, that with short distance. You can see the distance through Trans-Pacific, right? So distance is very short, right? And also from here, you connect the Canadian and US markets from here in this area, right? Production happens these areas and consumption is in the US market and Canadian market, even to the Europe, right? Production centers ටික මේ පැත්තේ තියෙන්නේ, consumption ටික මේ පැත්තේ තියෙන්නේ. Right, that's all. You can see it's the anchorage, this facility is in the middle. That's why they locate this cargo airport somewhere here. Right, so from this, they reduce the, actually they act as a hub, the center, so they can collect cargo and they can distribute. And also at the same time, they reduce the transportation cost. Right, you know that handling the aircraft is, you know, that cost, right? It's costlier than the shipping mode. Ship එකට වඩා cost එකක් තියෙන aircraft වල. So the main concern is the distance. So they geographically they reduce the distance by connecting with these mega hubs, right? Mega scale cargo generating points, and for the entire operation in overall they reduce the cost. That's the secret of this type of hubs, right? So right. Okay, that's about the rail. Now you identify that the importance of the sea transportation. Don't forget that sea transportation is number one. Whatever the modes are there, whether rail, air, whatever things happens, sea transportation is still number one and port operation still number one. Because the volume you can transport and very cheap. You know that when you transport something by using sea transportation is very cheap compared to other transport modes. That's the thing, right? And rail transportation is again one of the most important transportation mode. With if you need to transport something in long distance, right? But not across the oceans, but sometimes you know that in landlocked countries, what I call as a landlocked countries. Landlocked country එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? In transportation, this is very important. Landlocked countries.
There is no any way to connect with sea.
Yes, there are no any ways to connect with sea. Right? There are some countries, they are not connect with the sea, right? For an example, Switzerland. Right? So they are not connect with the sea. Land locked. They are locked by other countries surrounding. Land එකකින් කව වෙලා තියෙන පටේටම තියෙන රටවල වලින් කව වෙලා තියෙන. Luxembourg වගේ රටවල් කව වෙලා තියෙන. So they are not connected. At least from one side, they are not connected. That's the thing. So in that case, rail transportation is very, very important, and they can use the rail transportation for transport cargo to those countries, right? Especially in Europe and even in the African region, some countries are there, and the America, some countries are there like that. So in these cases, they use those, not only for the landlocked countries, but if your land area is very big, if you need to transport cargo, you can use the rail transportation. By using rail transportation, you can transport, let's say that for one train, one container train, you can transport like 5,000 containers. Very, very big trains. Right. That's it. Right. So in this case, for handle these trains, you need to have a station type facilities, but not like passenger transportation, but specialized design facilities. Right? In this case, you are transporting some type of cargo, especially containers, by using trains. So to store the containers, you need to have some kind of yard area. As I showed in the container terminal in port, for this as well, you need to have some kind of yard area to store the containers. And you need to have specially designed equipments to load those containers on trains. That's the thing. Right? And you need to have some kind of facilities like repair and maintenance. So who brings the cargo to these trains, right? Then මොකක් හරි location එක, if I will show you like this, right? This is actually one of the map in Canada, right? This is a rail network, right? You can see the rail network in Sri Lanka, India as well, right? Which country has world's biggest rail network? I mean, lengthiest, I can explain as a lengthiest.
Russia?
Russia. Just check that whether it's Russia or India. I think it's India. Right? Just check that. I'm also doubtful, but I think it's India, right? With respect to the length, the distance, right? This is one rail network, especially designed for the cargo transportation in Canada. You can see these circles represent the terminal. This one. Right, terminal means one facility where train stops and load the cargo, unload the cargo, that facility, right? You can see how many terminals are there. These links represent the rail tracks. The most important thing, you can see that by using this network, it covers the major part, the majority of part of this country, right? So the problem is how we support to this system to collect the cargo to these terminals. How you collect the cargo to these terminals? By using trucks. How? By using trucks, right? Trucks brings the cargo to these rail terminals from these rural areas, some suburb areas, and they collect here. By using trains, you load the cargo from here to train and transport cargo to this location by using trains. Again, when you unload the cargo from this container, the rail terminal, again you can use the trucks to transport that cargo to other locations. Likewise, that's how the system goes. It's rail and road connectivity is there, right? Then again, you can see that how you bring the cargo. By using ships, you bring the cargo to these terminals and you unload the cargo. Then you load on the train, and train goes to this land location. That's why you show in this picture, rail mode is there. You unload the cargo, load on the rail, and rail goes to the inner location. That system is every time in this transportation, each mode interconnected to other mode. We call it as an intermodal. Each and every mode connect each other. Rail, shipping to the rail, truck. Sometimes it connect to the air transportation as well. So I'm saying like that. If one container unload from the port of Colombo, I've discussed with respect to the Sri Lankan port, right? Sri Lankan port, right? Port of Colombo. Sometimes that particular container brings to the Karunathilaka airport. If anyone has experience, you know that part, right? Unload the container at the port of Colombo by using truck. That container goes to the port of Karunathilaka airport. In Karunathilaka airport, you can see. I don't know whether you know that, right? The Karunathilaka airport, we have cargo village, air cargo for the air cargo facility, not in the passenger terminal. When you are moving to the passenger terminal, in one side, you can see the air cargo terminal. Is there anyone familiar with that? කවුරුහරි දැකලා තියෙනවද ඒක? air cargo facility එක තියෙනවා කටුනාගේ airport එකේ.
දැකලා තියෙනවා sir.
Yes. You have a air cargo facility there, right? You can bring the container to there and unload the cargo. And in the airport, you have a specially designed container types for load on the aircraft. You unload the cargo from shipping container and load the cargo on the air cargo container and load on the aircraft. That also happened. Interconnected, each one. Right? We call it as actually sea to air cargo shipments, specially designed shipments, right? That's what I want to say, that supply chain, in supply chain, you are handling the transportation part, even transportation part interconnected with in different modes. Sea to air, air to rail transportation, right? So it's like that. ඒකත් interconnect වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. This is actually the rail freight corridors in the European region. You can see that actually they have mainly 11 rail tracks, right? The Rhine Alpha and North Sea to Mediterranean region, likewise Scandinavian, like Sweden and Denmark to the Mediterranean region. Likewise, you can see it's different colors. Actually, rail transportation is very popular in the Europe, right? If you visit there, you can see that everywhere it's like trains, cargo trains, right? So you can see that by using this rail corridor, the rail network, it covers everything, right? From northern part to, that means Norway, to the southern parts, even to the Italy, Greece, these countries. That everything covers, right? It's fantastic network, right? And this is again very short video. Just watch this video, and this is about the rail transportation. This actually most important thing is here. This rail transportation company in this video, actually it's from the Middle East. I think some students joined from the Middle East, they are familiarized with this, I think. Actually, this rail transportation company is owned by the airline, Etihad. And it's airline. Etihad is very famous for the airline, right? So they own this rail transportation company. That's happening in the industry, right? For an example, I explained to you Maersk Line, right? Maersk Line. But Maersk Line, they also own Maersk කියලා කියන්නේ shipping වලට famous එකක්. They own their airline. They have their own airline, and also they have their own rail. I mean the trains, right? Likewise, those companies, they have their own different transport modes. That's how it goes. The business goes, right? This actually a rail. Regarding the rail transportation, just watch this video, and after that we will continue the lecture. Right? Yes, it's about Etihad, right? So they operate actually in that particular region, Middle East, covering, I think they cover the major part, right? So they connect with the port and they also connect with the major free trade zones where the manufacturing things happening, right? Earlier, I think in 90s, 96 or somewhere, have a plan in Sri Lanka even to do some kind of initiate some kind of this rail connectivity with the port of Colombo and some kind of free trade zone areas. So maybe we'll see in the future, right? So it will give some kind of benefits, especially for the countries like with having big land area, right? So for Middle East, it's very good. So European region, it's must, right? And America, it's must, right? So it's everywhere is rail transportation is, I think rail transportation popular in those areas more than air transportation or shipping. That's the thing. And most importantly, China, they already completed that rail tracks from China to Europe. Right, it's already completed. It's through the Trans-Siberian Railway. It's for the transport cargo, right? Already they completed. And also from China to Europe, there's a sea lane, major sea lane is there. අපි ඔක Silk Route කියලා කියන්නේ sea lane එක තියෙනවා. I mean most the thing is that rail track will compete with the sea trade. China to Europe. Rail track එක හැදුවා හින්දා දැන් ඕක compete කරනවා shipping එක. There's a competition. That those kind of things happen, right? So sorry, I explained about that three main transportation components, right? Sea transportation, air transportation, and rail transportation. Keep in mind that other than these three main transportation modes, right? And I explained about the terminals, right? Other than that, you can have a road transportation by using trucks, very popular in Sri Lanka, and also with respect to the transportation, you can see the pipeline transportation, right? It's very crucial. Right? Pipeline transportation, even though it's not familiar with Sri Lankan, but we use pipeline transportation in Sri Lanka for transport. Water is one thing, right? Water is transport through the pipeline and to transport the oil from Port of Colombo to Sapagaskanda tank, we use the pipelines. And most importantly, in European region, they use pipelines over maybe 10,000 kilometers or more than that to transport gas and other things, right? So pipeline transportation even very important here, right? That's the thing, right? So we'll move the last part of the lecture. It's about the cross-border transaction, right? So cross-border transaction means, as I said, with the globalizations, you have to move beyond the country's limits. From Sri Lanka to India, Sri Lanka to Thailand, likewise. You have to do some kind of international trade. When you're doing international trade, you have to focusing on the cross-border transaction related activities, and there are some kind of regulations for that. Without focusing on those areas, you cannot do the cross-border transaction, because when you are doing the cross-border transaction, you know that there are some kind of regulations and some kind of regulatory bodies involved. Even when you are importing something from other country to Sri Lanka, you know that there are some kind of regulation, especially with respect to the customs. You have to go through the customs, and for customs, there are some kind of documentation process is there. And even with the port, you have to follow some kind of documentation process. So without adhering to these regulations and these operation processes, you cannot do anything. right? What happens simply in this international trade or cross-border transaction, you are buying something from your supplier, right? And your supplier will ship that particular product from that particular country. Let's say that you are buying something from Malaysia. Let's say that wood or Malaysia වලින් ලංකාවට ගොඩක් wood එනවනේ කියන්නේ අර leak ගොඩක් ගෙන්නවා මේ දවස්වල ගොඩක් ඕක වෙනවා especially special goods තියෙන්නේ ගොඩක් එනවා you are buying from that from Malaysia you buy Malaysian suppliers and it brings by ships sometimes more probably inside the containers and you have to pay for that, right? The thing is that from Malaysia, they export, right? Malaysia, they export, and you are the importer here. Let's consider our first example. We discussed in my first slide, the tea example. You know that from Sri Lanka, we export, mainly we export tea, right? You know, some ships actually arrive to the port of Colombo, sometimes to only load the tea containers, right? There are some ships from, especially from Middle East, right? They are coming here to load the tea exports. It's a huge demand for Sri Lankan tea, right? So we are the exporter, right? So we export tea. Before we export tea, we need to do some kind of what I call the preparation. We need to do some kind of preparation. That's what I mentioned here as a prepare for the export. You have to prepare that particular product for export, right? After that, you can do the export procedures, right? You can implement that. Before you have to prepare, right? When you prepare and you are going for the export, then you have to use the transportation, right? Maybe let's say that tea factory is in somewhere in the Nuwara area and you are doing everything there in Nuwara area. I'm saying that manufacturing of the tea and the packaging and everything you are doing in the Nuwara area. From there, you bring the tea and you put in the container. Put කියලා කියන්නේ ඒකට stuff කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ container එකකට. Stuff the tea inside the container and by using truck you bring the container to the port of Colombo. Why you are bringing that particular container to the port of Colombo? To load on the ship, right? This is transportation is there. Before that, you need to prepare documents. We will discuss in the next lecture. Most probably, I'll discuss about the export and import procedure. Most probably next week. Today, I don't have time, right? You have to prepare some documentation part, right? Parallelly with that, if you are preparing something for export, you are bringing by using the transportation and loading on the ship. And ship is leaving in port of Colombo. Maybe you are exporting to the Iran, let's say that to Iran, tea, and ship is going to somewhere, the port in Iran, right? Unload that particular cargo, that means the tea containers, and there's your import is there in Iran. He is preparing for receive your import. For him as well, you know that he had to deal with the customs in Iran as we deal with the Sri Lankan customs. He had to deal with the Iran customs and some kind of other related organizations, government organizations, and even with the port, and he's doing the import kind of things, import activities. This is simply what happens, right? So in one aspect, importer is paying to us, right? We are sending something to, as an exporter, we are sending something to the importer, right? He is paying to us, right? You know that in between exporter and importer, there's a contract. So you have to make a contract before exporting something, especially in the cross-border transaction. There should be some kind of agreement. Why you are making agreement? Because you are doing international trade, there are some kind of regulations and payment involves. You are sending something that's tangible product, payment is there, right? The monetary transaction is there. And you have to agree with the delivery terms. What type of term you are using? We will discuss that terms as Incoterms. That means international commercial terms. International commercial terms means in international. I have that part as well, right? So it's like this, right? This part. Right? We'll do in next slides, most probably next week, right? In UNTA, right? United Nations Trade and Development, this organization and International Chamber of Commerce, they introduce some kind of special terms for this kind of transaction as a delivery terms. So there are around 11 delivery terms we have to use in international transactions. You can select one. I'll explain that one, how you select the best suitable option for your transaction. If you are exporter from Sri Lanka, import is there, you are making agreement each other, and you have to select the payment method, and also you have to select the delivery terms, how you deliver that particular product, to what place you are deliver, because you know that as an exporter, you are responsible for deliver that particular product to the importer without damages, without pilferages, on time. You have to deliver that particular product. You know that there's a chain, right? Producing in somewhere, and you are loading in somewhere, you are storing in somewhere, you are doing the transportation part, you are transport that particular product to the port. From port, you are loading on the ship, and ship goes to the other country's port. And from that port, you are unloading the container. After unloading the container, you have to arrange the transportation part again until the location of the importer, until it reached the location of the importer, right? So there's a chain. What the problem is, you have to share the responsibilities. I mean the risk. As an exporter, from manufacturing location to port, I will responsible for transport this, right? If something goes wrong, I'm responsible, right? And I can say to my importer, from my port, let's say that example, from port of Colombo to until your place, maybe his warehouse, you should be responsible. I can say that. Or else I can say that from my location, from my warehouse as exporter to the port in Iran, I am responsible for that transportation part. Everything I will arrange, even the documentation, everything I will arrange. From that point to until your warehouse, you have to be responsible, right? Likewise, I can make an agreement, but that agreement should be covered by these international terms, as I show you the international commercial terms, right? I think we will able to do on this
Excuse
slide,
me.
right? Maybe we will continue from next week, right? It's okay. Prepare for export. You have to prepare for
Sir, excuse me.
Yes, yes, you can.
Yeah, I have questions with
Yes.
regarding the Incoterms. Let's say we have given the order under the CIF basis. It means cost insurance rate will be incurred by the that means supply. Let's see the container damage happen. Meantime, the cargo transport in between both countries. The damage, who's responsible for the damage?
Yes, good question, right? So I will explain that thing when we are doing the Incoterms. But the thing is that in this case, let's say that damage happens in the port, right? Damage happens in the port. In CIF cost insurance trade, CIF, who is responsible, mainly exporter or importer, as you know. Until which point they are responsible, CIF?
We have given order under the CIF basis. It means we are avoid from the I mean freight or insurance or whatever.
Yes.
But the responsibility goes whom to the responsibility goes. The meantime,
Yes, it depends on.
during see.
Yes. Sometimes it's like that, right? So insurance part, if something goes wrong with the port terminals, or if something happened in the port terminal and goes to the damage to the container, basically you doing the insurance part, right? Right? If a port is responsible for that, port has to pay. If the shipping line has to responsible, shipping line has to pay. But the thing is that when you are agreeing with the CIF, cost insurance and freight, there is some kind of obligation. I will explain the next week, right? So it's this one, CIF, right? Until which point you are responsible. This green color is the seller, exporter, blue color is the buyer, the importer. From manufacturing location to in CIF manufacturing location to the port, the unloading port, the seller should be responsible. If something goes wrong in this points, right? Sellers point to the destination port. As a seller, you should be responsible. If some damage happened in between these 2 points, exporter responsible. After that, importer responsible. He has to do everything. Right? You got simple idea, right? I will explain next week. You got some idea.
Yes,
At
yes.
one point it breaks. एक point taking එක දෙකට divide කරනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ chain එකේ locations කඩලා තියෙන්නේ. Right? So that's how it's separate, right? I'll explain next week, right? It's a good question. Right. Prepare for export, right? How you prepare for export? When you are preparing something for export, you need to have some kind of documentation, do some kind of documentation part, right? First thing, you have to do the operational part. Another one, you have to do the documentation part. Operation part means you have to arrange transportation. For that, you have to book a transportation mode. For an example, trucks, ships, right? You have to do the booking first because you have to do the transportation, because without pre-booking, you cannot do the transportation. You have to book a space, right? And sometimes if you are using the containers, you have to book a container. That's the thing, right? How you book the container? You have to ask from the shipping line. First thing, you have to select the shipping line. And if you select that particular shipping line, you have to book the container from that shipping line. Right? And how you bring that particular container to the port? By using truck or by using train. It's up to you based on the availability, right? And you have to insure cargo. Most importantly, this part is very important. Insurance part is very important. And you have to focus on the custom declaration, right? Custom declaration part, I will explain next week. Actually, in custom declaration part, you have to focus on most important documents are there. Cost date, bill of lading, like documents are there. You have to focus on those documents. You need to have those documents. Otherwise, you cannot do export part. Right? And if you are exporting some different types of product, you need to have a license. For an example, if you are exporting some kind of liquor products, even if you are exporting tea, even if you are exporting agricultural product, wood items separately, you need to have some kind of you need to get the approval from different organizations. If you are exporting wood items, you need to get the approval from the forest department, Sri Lanka. I'm discussing about the Sri Lankan perspective, right? If you're exporting apparel, you need to have some kind of certificates. If you're exporting tea, you need to get the license or approval from the Sri Lanka Tea Board, likewise. Right? I have that the process and some kind of document is input. I will share with your coordinator and she will share with you. And we will do this part in next week. And we will continue from this slide, right, in next week. Okay, this time is, I think, 9. I know that it's very hard to do the lecture in this time. Actually, it's like some sacrifice, right? In your holiday.
So can you drop the PowerPoint presentation into the chat box?
Already, chat box, I already sent to your coordinator. Anyway, I will drop it to chat box as well. She will share. Don't worry, she will share, right? I WhatsApp to her as well. She will share with me today, I think, right? Okay.
But it is better if you can send the tutorial in prior to the lecture.
In prior, I sent today morning. Yeah, today morning I sent, right? She will share anyway. I'll inform to her as well, right? Again, right? She will share this too. All right. So if you have any question, you can ask. Otherwise, we can stop the lecture here. and we will continue the part from next week. Okay. Then I'll stop here, and good night to you all. Right. Thank you for your
Thank you, sir.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
sir.
Good night.